Can you hear me all right? Hi, Jack.
How you doing?
Can you hear me or Jack? Anne?
I was just gonna say I can hear you, Vince. So I don't think it's you.
Um, can you hear me, Anne?
Yes, but
Yes,
not with
great.
my phones.
That's a relief. Yeah. So how's things been going for you, Anne?
Very good. I um, I was in your meeting, POK meeting, and I was very impressed about what you said to the woman who was very depressed and yes, and this how you took it off with some words, and since then I have lost some load as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
It sounds so easy if you say something and then it's easy.
Yeah. Only if you're ready. Mm. So tell me what do you hope to get out of tonight's meeting?
I have no idea.
Mhm. That's fine. That's good. Yeah.
I have a new computer and I have still problems to get it louder and
Yeah. It takes a while to get familiar with the workings, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah.
I can hear you with sufficient volume.
Yes, yes. You said if I can hear you with I didn't understand.
Yeah, I'm saying I can hear you fine. You're loud
Okay.
enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's better now.
Yeah, good. Good. So tell me how could life be improved for you? Or could it?
Oh, not much.
Good
I
stuff.
just want to, yes, I just, there's still the idea that there will be a lot of bliss and permanent, when I'm awakened. And I think something is missing. Yes, something is missing.
Right. You say you think something is missing. So let's be really clear about whether you think or feel or both. How do
I
you know
feel.
something is missing? Where did the idea come from that something is missing?
Be- because I heard people say they had so many stages and worlds and worlds and worlds. And
Yeah.
for me, life is just getting easier.
Yeah. That's excellent. Can you get that not only is there very little value in comparing yourself to other people, but that when that does happen, it can give you the feeling that something is missing. But it's not that there is something missing. It's just that listening to them gets your expectations running high.
Yes. But also there's a feeling, there's more. And I had at least one situation just walking through the city, and there was such a woof, joy, only joy. So I know there's more.
Yes. Do you expect that you could experience that all the time?
Why not?
It is. Why not? I don't know why not. I know it doesn't happen here for me,
Okay.
but that is always accessible. But we can't really stay in that state all the time. It would be, how could you have a discussion with somebody? How could you go to the shops in that state? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to appreciate that experience, and that's what it was, an experience.
Yeah.
Let's not call it anything other than that. Experience is constantly changing, depending on circumstances,
Mhm.
depending on history, depending on all sorts of things. Circumstances vary. Your experience, so the fact that you did experience that for a moment, then that becomes part of your history, and that then says, this is possible. So had you never had that, you wouldn't be thinking to go back to it.
Yeah.
So your history is almost the same as your current circumstances. Whatever's going on around you will also decide how you respond. So it's important to appreciate that, although that is, I say it's always accessible, but of course, under certain circumstances, it's much less accessible, and other circumstances make it much more accessible. So of course, it varies depending on what's going on, big time. So that's it. So when you say there's something missing, if I interpret you correctly, you're not saying that there's something missing. You don't have a feeling of emptiness or a void or something missing. What you have are thoughts that there is something more, based on A, what you hear other people say, and B, that short experience that you had.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing with what other people say is that, for just human nature, they'll tell you the really good stuff, but they don't tell you the bad stuff. So you start watching YouTube videos and everybody's telling you about the good stuff, you can get a fairly distorted view about what is actual.
Yes.
Yeah. So some homework for you would be to consider, in your experience, whether you do actually feel, or do you only think that things could be better than what they are. don't answer it now. During the day tomorrow, if that thought turns up for you to consider that, just do it then. Right? You said
Yes,
twice to me tonight, you said life is pretty good.
yes, yes,
Yeah. It's good value to appreciate that.
yes, I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to be more open and more loving. I just could be better on the human side.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So now we've got something to work with. That how you are when you compare how you think you could be is is practical. Right? And so how you are is going to be the result of a lifetime of habit. How you could be is going to feel a bit unfamiliar. Yeah. And when you appreciate that not only is it impossible to protect the illusion of a self, but there's no way anybody can hurt that illusion. No matter what people say, they're actually talking about themselves. They're talking about their opinion. And they don't know you. So there's no possible
Mm.
way for them to actually cause you to seriously consider how you are when you don't even know you that well. You just know what your experience has been.
Yes.
Do you get that there is no actual inherently separate self in there running the show? There's no little Annie in your head pulling levers.
I had this question I asked myself. I couldn't find it, but it's it's neither yes nor no. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah,
something is there. I can't
okay,
clearly say no, there's nothing.
yeah.
Not yet.
So do you get that? Do you recognize that you have 1,000 stories
I
that you've collected
can't
all
hear
of your
you.
life about who Anne is, what she likes, what she looks like, what she doesn't like? All of these things are stories that you've collected based on experience and based on what other people have said. In particular, as you've grown up, your parents have shaped their idea of you, and you have accepted that to a large extent. Right? And that those stories are just there in the background, they're stories in your head, but your response to those stories will actually create a feeling that your mind will interpret as being a self. The response to the stories.
Mhm.
And so when do you like do you like ice cream?
The right one.
Sorry?
Only fruit. Only fruit ice.
Only for yes.
No, no milk ice.
Yeah. So you have a story that
Yeah.
you could say, I like that,
Yes.
right? And that's just a way of talking, a way of describing things, right? If you were accurate, you would say there are pleasant sensations, or I have a
Mhm.
pleasant experience when I have that,
Yes.
right? There's not there's not anybody to own it. So I like is not accurate, but just that when that is there, there is a good feeling.
Yes.
And that's for a whole lot of reasons, which we don't need to go into, but reasons like partly it's to do with your genetics, and partly it's to do with your history, and so on. So in the end, you just know that you like it. It's not
Mhm.
it's not owned by anybody. It's just the meeting of two things, you and that. And when they're together, there is a pleasant sensation for you or a pleasant experience. So you can see how there's not there's 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 nothing that is actually personal. It can be described that way. It can be reacted to as if it were personal, but it's not actually personal. It just happens that that's something you like and there's something else that you don't like. So language
I think my
confuses us.
my mind has got it.
Yes?
Hmm. In situations when in stress situations or when something is hurting me, I can see there is a bad feeling. I don't identify.
Mm,
But when I look for do do I find or do I have a self or don't, then I can't answer this question.
mm. Yep. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, a lot of people will say if you can't find one, that means there isn't one there. But that's not true, is it? If you can't
Yes.
find your car keys, doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means you haven't found them. Right? So looking for it and not finding it isn't a great way to test that. But if you look at what is there, what you can experience, the closest you'll get to an actual self is a sense of self. And if you examine that, what you will find is that you have sensations and then you have a story about what those sensations mean. And it's that story that makes it seem like a self. So when we say a sense of self, we've got a feeling. And when you look at the feeling without the story, it has no information and no instructions. It is just a sensation. So what you'll find is you'll say because or therefore,
Hmm.
those words that link it to the story. The sensation links to the story. And together you can say, that's a sense of self. And we can see how that gets created. We can see the stories involved. Where do the stories
Hmm.
come from? Those stories come from, they appear. They don't come from, but we can analyze it and we can look at it and we can see that those stories come from your education, from what you've been taught.
Yes.
And if we look at them and go, that's just thought, but the sensation associated is actual.
Hmm.
And they have to be both of those, the taught thing with the actual sensation, to end up with a sense of self. But that says nothing about an actual self, does it?
Mm.
So let's go as far as to say, well, maybe there is an actual self. We could say maybe there is a soul. We could say maybe there is a God. But we can't know any of that. It's a mystery. So
Yes.
let's put the whole idea of an actual self along with the idea of a soul, along with the idea of God, along with the idea of Santa Claus. Well, we know about Santa Claus, but let's put the other ones in a mystery bag. You know, just accept that we're never going to know that answer. It's not
Mm.
we're not capable of knowing whether those things exist or not. So they're not relevant to us. What's relevant is your actual experience.
Yes. There's another idea or concept. If you are there,
I missed that. You broke up a little bit. So if you were there, what?
you know. You
Oh
said we
yeah,
can't know, it's a mystery, and they say then you know it's another knowing than from the brain that then you know.
yeah. What you if you examine what you
Do
know,
you know?
I don't believe I know anything. I do believe I have beliefs about things, but I can't call a belief knowing. Knowing is an interesting concept, isn't it? And knowing suggests a relationship with what is actual. And the best I can do is have a relationship with my interpretation of something. So I can't
Yeah,
know. I don't know.
yes. Perhaps it's not knowing, but being very sure on a different level.
Mm.
So
I am,
I have a feeling for something that sounds right.
yes, it
And I'm
resonates.
drawn
Yeah.
to these things. That's truth. I have a feeling for something that's truth. That's a truth I'm searching for. And on this level, you perhaps we I hope I can be sure, yes, I'm yes. I know on this level. I
Mm.
I don't know what I exactly mean.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're talking, I'm thinking, what am I sure of? And really, the only thing I could say with great certainty that I am absolutely sure of is that I've got no idea about how things work. I've got no idea about the existence of those things. Yet I feel sure and I believe there is much that actually exists that I can't define or describe. So it's not just that I'm sure that I don't know. I'm also very, very sure that there is stuff there. There is not even stuff. There is much that I don't know about, except that it actually exists.
Mm,
Well, and now then I get unsure about that when I say exists. I have many experiences that can't be explained logically. Does that mean that I'm experiencing something. Well, I don't know. Maybe the experience is entirely within me and not a relationship to something unknown. I don't know, but it's like, wow, we could get lost in that stuff very
Yes.
easily. Yeah.
But what about I am? Are you sure you are?
No, no, no. Have you considered the possibility that your experience is that you are a character in a computer game run by aliens? How would you know if you're a real person or just a character? Or here's a better one. I had this experience when I was a child, and 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 I used to read late at night, and so I always had trouble getting out of bed. And my mother would yell at me to get out of bed to go to school every morning. She would hound me to get up. Anyway, one day she came in and said, "Vincent, get up, get up, get up. Come and get dressed and come and get your breakfast. Get ready for school." And I dragged myself out of bed. It was such an effort. And I got dressed and I was heading out the door to get breakfast when I woke up. And it was a dream. And it was so realistic that it felt like I had to go through it all a second time to actually get dressed and go and get breakfast. Right? Now, how do I know that the first one was a dream? Because I woke up out of it. But maybe I haven't woken up out of the dream that I'm in now. So it could be a dream. I have no idea. Maybe it's a dream. And I won't know until I wake up out of it.
But someone is dreaming.
Somebody is dreaming me. Yeah, sure. If I'm in a dream, who knows? Am I dreaming me, dreaming me, dreaming me, dreaming me, dreaming me? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
doesn't help. Doesn't help to dive into these things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm happy to not know. Now it is a kind of a weird one, and that is that I did the concept of waking up, not enlightenment. I don't like that concept because I don't know about that. But waking up out of the dream that I was in, the waking dream that I was in, did happen many years ago now. In 2011, that happened, and the analogy that of waking up out of a dream works very well for that. I felt like I was in a dream and I woke up out of that dream. And I've no doubt that I woke up into another dream. So what I'm in now, my life now, is a dream, but it's a way better dream than the one that I was in before. Yeah. So that
And you
that
woke
has a
up
ring
in a
of sorry.
you woke up in a moment or
Yes.
switched?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I've worked with many people who've woken up much more gradually since. So those people that wake up like I did, that doesn't happen so often.
Mhm.
Yeah. But you could say that experience you had of bliss,
Yes.
that was like a waking up.
Yes, it was 50 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it, that you still remember it? It still impacts.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, yeah. It's like you pull the curtain aside and look through, and you went, wow. Yeah, yeah. And when you this is a weird one. When when something happens and you decide there is no value in searching for something that's missing, you change from a seeker to a discoverer. You become like the explorer, just interested in whatever turns up. And you could say that when you accept that you have woken up, you will see things from a different perspective. And then there will be many glimpses through that curtain. But whatever you think you have yet to wake up, it's pulled tight.
Yes.
You know?
Mm. And there's a lot to discover. I experimented with two things you said in the meeting. The one with laughing when I noticed something is coming up. And the other one, it sounded strange for me. You said, I'm only the totality of the experiences in the moment, something like that. And I tried to sink into this thought in some situations, and it started to feel familiar.
Yes, excellent, excellent. Yeah. And you could describe that. It, I've goosebumps now. That feels so good. I have goosebumps. Oh, you could describe that as losing identification with a person. When you grok that you
Can you
are
repeat? It was
whatever.
broken up.
Sorry.
It was broken up. Can you repeat it, please?
Oh, sorry.
Connection was bad.
Do, yes. Do you know the word grok? Are you
Stone, rock,
familiar with that? Grok.
grok.
Yes. It's realizing something with your whole being, your whole
Mm-hmm.
body. It's
Mm-hmm.
or an overwhelming sense of getting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, when you realize that you are what you are experiencing is what you are. See, that's not quite right to say it like that because you're not a what. There is no thing you're what. You are a process, if you like, called experiencing. And- But when you realize that that is the totality of everything, then you have dropped all of the personal identification. And at that point, you are everything that you experience. Your perception through your senses becomes the totality of your being. Now, the words don't matter, except
Mm-hmm.
that they invite something. They invite a curiosity about
Yeah.
that. It's the experience of that. And as you say, becoming familiar with that as a concept will lead you to that whole body experience. You'll get it. You'll just get it. And then from then on, you're in a different dream.
I noticed there's some resistance still to let it completely
Sure,
in. Mm.
of course, yeah. but that resistance is usually associated with the idea of losing something.
Mm,
But you don't lose anything. And all the old stuff is still available to you, except you'll be an actor on the stage with it then, rather than it being actually you,
mm,
right? So you'll still be able to pretend like the old way is the way you are when you're at the shops or when you're talking with somebody socially, but you'll know at the same time as you're doing that, you'll know that you're just doing that. It's just an actor on the stage. Yeah. It's not quite
yes,
right to say it like that because that sounds fake and false, but it's not. It's just
yes,
appropriate. Yes.
yes, I understand it. I can be there in some situations. Yes, in relaxed situations, I can be there.
Yeah. Hmm. Ah. And I have this strong feeling that you're so close. Wow. Yeah.
Yes, I was so grateful when I was in this meeting. It seems
Yeah.
it's just what I needed now.
Yeah. And it's amazing, isn't it? Life does that. Life knows what you need and there it is. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. Hmm.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Yeah. So you jump in if you've got anything to say, but I'm going to talk to Jack now. Jack's still looking for something, I think. Some things, some things he knows. How are you, Jack?
I'm okay. How are you doing, Vince?
Oh, good. Yeah.
I don't know. I came in today wanting to talk about destructive habits, like looking for things. Uh, Specifically, like I sit on my phone on the toilet for what feels like an unhealthy amount of time, for example, or there are other things that I don't like to think about, but just that seeking addiction to thought. There's some OCD, so that's a compulsive stuff in the brain. I just get the sense that it's making me unhappy, and then but it doesn't feel so easy to stop or to like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's not. It's not easy to stop, all right? Because it's you doing the best you can with that. And so it's I know we've said this stuff before, but that's fine. You stopping it is not appropriate. If you stop it, you avoid the situation where you can learn about your relationship to it. You need to keep doing it whilst you investigate what's the value of it. So when your mind says, I've got to stop doing this because it's unhealthy, that's a way of avoiding what your relationship with it is. So if you accept that the inclination to do this stuff is the best that you can come up with to cope with the situation, then almost immediately it will reveal itself to you what the relationship is. What are you achieving when you're doing that? So if you find yourself scrolling on your phone, then that's a way of not being in your body. You're being in your head when you're scrolling on the phone, aren't you? And
sure, or
and
just not really being
yeah,
there at all.
yeah, that's right. Well, you also get, because you're in your head, you get some good feelings. You come across a nice video and it gives you a good feeling. right? Then you watch this 7-second video and it makes you feel good. So then immediately you've got to find another one.
It really doesn't anymore. Like
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
not a whole lot makes me feel that great, and but there's no.
So
I
what
haven't
if
found the other.
yeah, yeah, what if even if it's not making you feel great, it's still better than what you would feel if you weren't distracting yourself. That's crazy, but sometimes we bash our head against the wall because that pain is easier to cope with than something else that's going on.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so intellectually, I know that I'm supposed to feel what I need to feel, and it's better for me if I do feel, but I just can't. Like it feels like I'm stuck with whatever set of feelings I've had around recently for like days on end sometimes. So, like I know I'm not supposed to avoid the pain or whatever's going on, shame, anger, fear, who knows. But I do get the sense that I am, as you're kind of implying, avoiding it in some capacity, and I just don't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So can you get that part of that is part of the problem, and that is that you know, and then you beat yourself up because you're not doing what you know.
I mean, sure, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I don't know what to do with that advice though.
right. So what if there's no winning? What if this is as good as it gets?
Yeah, I had that thought today, and that made me feel better actually. And then I had several hours of kind of being in my head, but I don't know. I don't.
Yep, yep, yep.
I hope it's not. I really hope it's not.
Yeah, I don't for a moment believe that that's as good as it gets, for sure. You exhibit a really important characteristic for me, and that is you're persistent. You know, you really dig into this, and you're going to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. Right. So that in itself tells me that you'll get through it. Right. If you turned your back on it the first time and felt bad, well, you probably would never get through it, but you haven't. You hang in there, don't you?
Uh, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like I'm giving up more and more, uh, or like giving in.
Hmm. Well, it's another tricky one that everything's an opportunity comes to mind, but essentially, if you surrender, resign yourself to it, and surrender in that way, right? Even if you're descending into a victim state, and that's not a healthy place to be, but it's still a doorway through to a healthier kind of surrender or acceptance. So it's like you've got to get so exhausted from this that you've got no fight left in order to be able to let go and surrender.
So
Maybe.
I've been meaning to ask you about that because that's the second time you've mentioned victimhood, and I mean you can hear from my voice that I'm maybe touchy about it, but I do, if that's something you're seeing, I do want to address that. Like I'm not scared to be uncomfortable if I'm repeatedly being a victim to myself or acting in that way.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't really want to touch it, but
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
And just as an aside, not wanting to is got to do with the way you see yourself, hasn't it? It's an identification thing.
I don't know. I don't really know what I'm feeling. I mean, when I mentioned that maybe I didn't want to, that felt slightly more real, but there were no thoughts about it. It was just
Mm, okay. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thinking. The thinking was happening, and I don't know. I really don't know.
So instead of it being a throwaway phrase that you used, I don't know. Can we celebrate? That's a brilliant place to be. I don't know.
Sure. I don't. Taking the words out of my brain to some degree.
Mm.
Um, uh, yeah, my OCD therapist says not knowing is good for me. Um,
If we get to a place where I don't know actually becomes an experience of unable to say anything that makes sense, that's brilliant. That's really
yeah,
good.
that's it.
Yeah. See, this is my interpretation, so it may or may not be even close to accurate. But I'm imagining that a huge amount of your responses are you just, how can I put it, struggling to keep your head above water. You're flailing around attempting to not drown. And it feels like the moment you stop that, you're going to sink and drown, I imagine.
Uh, yeah, maybe make sense of things or understand in some capacity or understand for the purpose of responding in some way. I had that thought earlier today. Is being very task oriented in relation to my thoughts. Like a thought will come up and I'll be like, yeah, let's breathe through that, or let's smile at that
Mm.
one, or I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I don't
So
really.
what if the whole thing rests on the idea of having control?
Yeah, but so I want to be specific about how I use that word because recently we had that discussion about like I'm not really controlling moving my arm, and that actually did a lot for me. But it didn't seem like that really did a lot for me that day. But it definitely did not solve the whole picture. So
Mm.
maybe we're using different words of control or like how are you seeing it in me? If
Probably, well, what comes to mind is the word doing. So by doing something, always doing something, it's a way of feeling like you're not going to drown.
okay, I don't know.
So tell me then, what about the word happening? If we replace doing with happening, how much of your life just happens? Do you feel? Do you feel at a deep level in you? Do you feel? It just happens. Not think.
I don't know. You stirred something up in my gut, in my stomach. Uh, yeah, okay. So I'll mention it. Uh, there's there's a thought of being very unable to quantify how much feels like it's just happening. Like in fact, almost none of it feels like it's just happening. But then like that exercise of like what we talked about it last week. I don't know if you remember it, but the like do I remember just starting to think? Do I remember starting to speak? Like no, it just happened. So I've realized there's some of that going on. Of there is just happening. But there's 1000% a repeated feeling all the time that like I am the thinker. I am the one who does things through thoughts. That there's a there's a
Yeah, yeah. All right, just stay with that for a
it
moment.
feels like I can't say it with my chest, but
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah,
definitely a feeling that I can't that I'm doing it, even though maybe I know that it's not true.
yeah. That's okay. All right. So just stay with that for a moment and consider. I lost my train of thought.
Just happened.
Mm. It'll come back. Yeah. One thing that's valuable to appreciate is that we're not we're not going to move from a state of having control to a state of not having control. What we're actually talking about is realizing that what we took to be control was actually a happening with a narration added to it that gives it the impression of control. So we're not going to lose control. We're not going from control to no control. We're going from realizing that we never had control to living with that realization. Now we'll still do things like we have control because that's appropriate, especially when you're interacting with other people. So we'll still be able to describe things as if we had control. But there is a recognition then that what turns up, thoughts, impulses to behavior, all of those things come, we could say out of nowhere, but no, that's not true. They are a result of conditions, of circumstances, which includes your history as well as current physical circumstances. So if you like, you can say life has control. It's just that you don't, but your brain does. Let's put it that way. That's another way of looking at it. Your brain makes decisions
just at the thought that I don't want my brain to have control, which is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
I realize.
yeah.
Does
Mm.
the brain have control? Does life have control, or is it just life happening?
Um,
Nothing has control, really, does it?
my thought is that I'd have no way to know. Um,
Well, that's a good point, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, at best we might be able to pull in 100 of the current circumstances and list them out, but there's 1,000 other ones involved that we don't even know. So it's not like it comes out of nowhere. It isn't. Everything has a scientific explanation, if you like, if you had the facility to include everything. But we have to include your whole history. Now your brain has got its version of that, and it's easy for us to bring in the current circumstances that are involved because they can be seen and measured. But your history and how that interacts with that's a bit trickier, isn't it? So when you get down to it, there's only about, 100,000 circumstances involved in any happening. And at the very best, you could come up with a dozen or so. That leaves an
So
awful lot
what
that,
does that demonstrate? What are you demonstrating there, Vince?
well, I'm just saying it's easier to say it all just happens, but it's not to imply that it's magical.
No,
I mean, it is
causes and
magical, of
conditions.
course. The mere fact that things happen the way they happen is quite magical. But for the sake of moving from the idea of I'm a doer and it's me to things just happen, it's appropriate. It's valuable to kind of take little steps in that direction. So people get the idea that if they have control and then they accept that they don't have control, they think they're going to be out of control, which is an entirely different concept. And so the fact that we don't have free will doesn't mean, for example, that everything is deterministic. It's not.
Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean by that? I don't think I really understand the difference there. If we have no free will, and it's not deterministic, I don't see how it seems
Yeah,
like if it's it's the same
it's
thing.
one or the other.
Deterministic equals yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So even the idea of free will gets a bit tricky, and no free will is even trickier. But can you can you control all of the circumstances that you find yourself in at any moment? Obviously not. Because a lot of them don't have anything to do with you until they touch you, but they come from other things, circumstances. But every condition that affects you, it depends on its own conditions. And each one of those
So that
conditions depend on their own conditions. So in 3 steps, it becomes infinitely complex. And the reality, of course, is that there's no end to it. It keeps on going again and forever, right back. So it's like we can know that there are circumstances involved. We just know that no way can we define all of them, or that we even want to. It's a lot easier to say, okay, things just happen. But it's just a way of describing it. They just happen.
so what you've described there seems to me to be a description of no free will and of determinism. Like
Well, determinism says that things have got to be in a particular way. But the conditions that define that are also always in flux, aren't they? There is nothing static in nature. So whatever
No, why?
conditions, I mean, what the weather might be one of the conditions. Well, who can control the weather? It's always changing,
But I don't
whether it's
think
night or
determinism
day.
means that. I don't think determinism means that anybody's controlling it, does it? It just means that things unfold because of previous factors and they couldn't have unfolded differently.
Well,
That's
okay,
what I
I
understand
I
anyway.
go along with that. Yes, yeah. So is there not in determinism the concept that things are predictable? That maybe that's what I
Well, I
mean
think,
by not.
okay. I think if you had infinite information and infinite computing power, then yes,
Then
they'd be
they could be
predictable.
perhaps predictable. Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm really interested in this, and I think it's in. But I've been wondering recently: is this just philosophy and
It
if we're just
it
relating things,
it.
if we're bringing everything back to our experience, can we see that there is no free will without referring to some philosophy? Like, yes, we can. And for me, I think I can see that many things arise spontaneously in the body that so the body's kind of leading and the thoughts come afterwards. The decision, the choosing comes afterwards. Um, for a lot of things, kind of involuntary and included within that involuntary things,
Mm,
breathing, heart beating, picking up a cup, all that stuff. But when I don't know, maybe I think maybe I'm answering my own question here, but
yeah. It's interesting. What is philosophy? Well, maybe philosophy is when we not relating it to our actual experience, when we're talking about how things work at an idealistic level or something, then it becomes philosophy. But when we come back to what is my experience and can I describe that or how can I point to a particular experience, I don't think you would call that philosophy.
no, no, I mean, yeah, I suppose it's if we have to invoke the idea that everything is caused, like, can we know that? Can we know that everything happens because of things that went before it?
Well, see, that's philosophy.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that it seems that that's what we invoke, that's what we
Right.
use as an argument,
Okay. So
to
let's
prove
say
that
that
there's
okay,
no
philosophy
agency.
becomes useful if it helps us if it points to something in our experience.
Uh-huh.
But philosophy could easily become psychology too, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think they do merge
Mm,
somewhere. There's an
mm.
overlap.
So does any of this help Jack? Or are we just talking philosophy?
Oh no, I mean I kind of zoned out, but you guys are, it's okay.
So if I say to you, Jack, that things just happen as a shorthand way of saying they don't originate entirely within you. You only contribute a couple of the conditions that influence any kind of happening. That the majority of that is doesn't come from within you. Does that help you see that the idea of doing? See, now, all right. So here's a. I don't mean this to become philosophical, but does when you say I am the doer, Does that mean you have to be 100% the doer?
I guess not. I don't know.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, put it this way.
I,
If I was
I'm
the
sorry.
doer,
I'm in a slightly weird mood.
yeah, that's fine. That's good.
I don't
That's
know how to.
that's not a worry. Yeah. I was just thinking, well, if I was the doer, I could hit the perfect golf shot every single time I swung the club.
Sometimes I do that with bowling and it doesn't work. I try to
Exactly.
attune to my environment and it just no, cannot
Yeah.
bowl perfectly. But no, I kind of ignored what you were saying actually. If I was the doer, I don't know. It's very possible that my sense of responsibility for what is happening and maybe victimhood. No, see, that's a weird one because how can I be both a victim and a doer?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, it is interesting, that, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And that sense of responsibility, that's tied up with that kind of stuff, isn't it? You can
yeah,
be an
yeah, that's what I mean.
irresponsible victim, but you can't be a responsible victim. And you can be a responsible doer, but you can't be an irresponsible doer.
No, I think we're in philosophy now, but
Well,
I think
yes,
you did
but
understood what I was saying, though. Yeah,
let's bring it back to your experience of being responsible, right?
yeah,
That's an actual experience, isn't it?
yeah. Or being very irresponsible, but in a way that feels like me being irresponsible. Yeah,
Mm.
like what I was talking about my destructive habits earlier. No, but
Yep, yep.
sometimes those feel like I just don't have a choice, or I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, there you go. Great. I say you never have a choice. That's like control. That's only an illusion. If you think you have got a choice, it's the mind coming in saying, I could have done it differently. And
Or it
that's
really
all.
feels like I do.
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. You're challenging my beliefs, and I don't even know what's being challenged. It just feels awkward.
So if it let's play with this. If you're not a doer, it only seems like you do. If you don't make choices, it only seems like you do. You're not responsible, it only seems like you are. What's left? That's a bit scary, isn't it?
I really don't want to say it, but the word that comes to mind is victim. But everybody else is that same boat, so I can't really be a victim. It's just
Yeah. Even those who believe that all of those things exist and run their life like that are still operating within an illusion, aren't they?
yeah, or presumably that's what you're pointing at right now.
It seems to
And
me that
if
the
they're not
victim
suffering,
thing
that's
is
probably perfectly reasonable.
I heard two things and didn't hear anything.
go for offense.
You're saying if they operate with those illusions of choice and decisions and responsibility and doership, control, and they're not suffering, fine. They can continue to do that, no problems.
Yeah.
But when that doesn't work properly and you find yourself suffering, isn't that an invitation?
I can only say that I'm really drawn to weaponize your argument against you right now. Like who's doing? Who's and that doesn't feel authentic. It feels bitter, but yeah.
I don't mind you doing it. Maybe
Okay.
there's value in you doing it to investigate it.
No, I mean I just did. It's like who's getting the invitation to look within, investigate, control? Who has that choice? I don't know. It feels very shameful to talk like that. I don't. I can just say thank you for being understanding. Uh,
Well, thank you for thanking me, but I don't understand.
okay, that's
But
okay too.
it's okay. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for being spontaneous and authentic. That's
uh,
valuable stuff. And I tell you what, we've stirred stuff up. So, like, it doesn't matter that we haven't got a wonderful resolution, a final chapter, or an outro to the song. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. It's just stirred up, and that's good value. Just let it settle and see what happens.
okay.
Or not. Whatever's going to happen will happen, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So much of what I imagine you're experiencing rests on a couple of fundamental illusions that once seen through, the whole thing will crumble. The whole thing will drop. Yeah.
Well, fuck, Vince. I mean, I would love to
Yeah. Well,
figure
you just got to
out.
just be patient. It'll happen or not. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean that's relieving, if anything.
I get it, and it's very legitimate to say you love that, right? That feeling of loving it, of wanting it, etc., is legitimate. Good stuff,
Loving what?
that you could figure it out and all of a sudden flip into a wonderful place.
Oh,
Right? But the thing itself is not going to happen, but loving it is perfectly reasonable and lovely. Wanting it
I think I'm
is
still
great.
confused, but entirely what you're saying, but only because I maybe missed something, or I'm not. Not because you're unclear, or the English is
Yeah,
unclear.
yeah. Well, I'm not clear to me, so that's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just saying we've stirred a lot of stuff up, even though it feels frustrating for you. It's good value still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Thank you. Yeah. And you watch yourself when you're listening to others, what they're going through and so on, and you'll find a lot more clarity about them than what you will about yourself.
I feel like I can't stop thinking about me, like almost ever,
Mm.
especially after uh, Pernilla's bubble of reality. It's all a mirror, really amplified that. So I don't even know if that was a helpful pointing for me. Uh, but now
Mm.
everything is like, oh, Vince said it. I wonder if that says something about me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, isn't it? Mm. How are you going, Tammy?
Hey Vince. Um, I guess I would say I was calmer for a while. There was like turbulence for a while. Um, a few good weeks that were pretty difficult. It's been a bit calmer the last week or so. Um, but feels like things are turbulencing up again a little bit. Um, yeah, not entirely sure what to do about it. I'm just trying to apply whatever I can think of in the moment, a question, a relaxation, whatever seems to work. Not sure if I'm doing enough or deepening enough or going on the right track because there's always this thing of like, what's a spiritual experience or a mystical experience or a relaxation or meditation versus actual progress towards realization. And um, so yeah, that's always a question that's in the back of my mind. Is it just the regular ups and downs, or is there some sort of something that can bring me closer? Um,
So
and
everything you've said so far has been predicated on the past and the future. There's been a lot of what you're saying that says, is this getting better or is it getting worse? Am I going up or am I going down? Now, it's a bit stupid word I say, but it's kind of a bit advanced to to worry too much about rocking the idea that there is no such thing as continuity. So but a practical aspect of that would simply be what is happening now? Always that question now. What now? Not why or how or what if or because or any of that stuff. Just what is happening now? If you always ask that, and you'll never have the idea going of am I getting better or am I getting worse? Do you get that? Living in the
I
present.
hear you. I hear
Mm,
you, but um, I am trying to do something, which is to. The truth is, I'm not entirely sure. In other words, sometimes I think I just want relaxation and relief and the letting go of struggle. And sometimes I think, yeah, I want to understand this no self thing or whatever it is, but really, I just want to be at peace. I don't want to be contracted. I don't want to be suffering.
mm.
So sometimes I do want to see this no self thing. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know that I want that. I do know that I want release from this constant craziness of the body and
Yeah,
mind. And I want to
yeah,
be at a
yeah,
very deep place.
yeah.
Um,
So
so I
every
don't so much
every
care
every
how I
time
am.
that
Yeah.
I was going to say every time that happens, I want release. Do you get that there's an idea that I'm comparing now to some future possibility? So
Mm, I don't get that. It more feels like, ow. I guess you're saying that I want this to stop is the comparing to be. It's more like, oh, this hurts and I'm contracted around it and I wish I could be at peace.
Right. Okay. So that's better. That's not so much. There's still an idea that at some time in the maybe the near future, I could be at peace, or I'll fail to get that. So there's still a comparison between what I'm experiencing now and this idea of peace. Now, what I'm
Hmm.
saying, what I'm wanting to convey to you is that even if you're contracted, even if you're feeling pain, if you were to immerse yourself in that and separate what it means from what is actually happening, it'll change. It'll be different. I'm not saying it'll disappear. I'm not saying you'll suddenly feel pleasant, but what I am saying is it will take on a different nature. It will become different. So if you're feeling contracted, then the technique is to go, okay, where do I feel contracted? Oh, contraction is a label, right? Oh, that means something like tightening. I'm tightened in a certain area. Where in the body do I experience that? Is it in my hands, my feet, my legs, my belly, my chest, my back? Where do I feel tight? Where is the contraction? Oh, okay. Contraction, tightness, that's still labels. What's the experience? Ah, get into this experience. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's changing, it's shifting, it's intensifying, it's fluctuating, going up and down. There is that experience, just there. This is the experience. I am experiencing this. And you notice that there's no word of called peace. There's no idea about peace. I'm so totally involved in experiencing what is actually happening now that I'm not thinking about, can I have peace? I want peace. Because guess what? The moment you say, I want peace, you're going to contract around that. At the moment you say, this experiencing, it loosens. It's the opposite of contraction. That's pretty tangible stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. And thanks for the reminder. I had been doing that for a while and then I was like, I don't know, I just woke up so tense, like from clenching all night, and it just tightens my whole upper body. It's insanity. I wake up like a rock. My whole
Mm,
back, neck, and shoulders and jaw like tightened for hours. And you wake up after that, it's like you've been
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
worked over with a bat or something. I mean, it's wild how
yeah,
much it's
yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
But I
certainly
have
not.
been.
Yeah. Do you think that you're feeling that stuff before you wake up and you wake up to realize that that's there, or do you think it comes after you wake up or as you're waking up? I'm not actually after an answer. I'm just wondering, have you contemplated
Mhm.
that?
When I realized the tension.
Yes. Do you think that it was there before you woke up and you wake up to realize it, or do you think that it came as you were waking up? Do you
It's
think the tension
interesting.
was there while you're asleep?
I always assumed that it was, hours of tension because it wakes up like that, and
Mm.
it seems as if it's been going on for hours. And my dentist will tell you I have cracks in my teeth because I clench all night. So that's what the doctor says. So
Mm. Mm.
I guess I just
Yeah, we can presume that teeth clenching of a night is a reflection of something that's going on. Whether it actually is or not, I really don't know. But yeah, it certainly seems logical that it is. But maybe it's just a habit, and it's
maybe,
not.
but if I'm asleep, I can't do anything about it.
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not that we're going to find an answer to this. We can't know. You can't be awake when you're asleep to find out, you know. Um,
Yeah, but that's an interesting one. It's just the tension is so strong when I get up that I assumed it was all night, but maybe not.
yeah. And so, of course, we don't go from asleep to awake, in it's not a black and white situation. But what we do, we kind of, we know that we go from a deeper sleep to a lighter sleep to eventually being awake. So things can happen. I had this story that I used to tell a lot. I haven't for a while now, about reincarnation being what happens every morning when you wake up and you put on the coat of self, and with that coat often comes a whole lot of contraction and tightness and
Mm,
worry and concerns and so on. But every
mm,
morning when you wake up, we reincarnate, and every night when you go to sleep, we die. In a sense, I really believe, and it's only a story I've told myself, but I really rather imagine that's what the Buddha was referring to with reincarnation. It was what we do every single morning, because he talks
mm.
about eventually not having to reincarnate. Now that means eventually waking up and not putting on the coat of self and
Wow.
having to be that way. Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I suspect that with when we're strongly identified, as we start to wake up, we start to collect ourselves around a skeleton, if you like, of who we believe ourselves to be. So how freeing would it be to wake up and wonder, who am I today? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's nice in a way. I mean, people with amnesia, I don't think they think it's nice, but it sounds nice in a way.
Yeah, I wonder about that whole thing too, people with Alzheimer's and so on. What is, I think we take a lot of life habits with us into those states if they turn up. Yeah. And I know when my mother and my mother-in-law, they were both had dementia at the end of their life, and um, I visited mum a lot in the dementia ward where she was staying, and there were people in there that were bitter, oh, terrible, terrible people. And there were people who were just seemed to be blissed out all the time. And one of the nurses told me that it's frequent that people who are very nice during their life become bitter when dementia turns up and so on. And I
Become
always
bitter?
wondered, yeah, I wondered whether or not that's because that's what they were really, and they were just pretending all of their conscious life. And
Mm.
and so I don't know, it's just a thought that occurred. Yeah. Luckily, my mum was the other way. She was quite blissed out. We just sit there and hold hands, and it was great. Yeah. But yeah, so I wonder. I've often thought about this. If I get dementia, wonder what I'll be like. But I rather imagine I'll be quite happy. Who knows?
So when you asked me what's happening right now, and there's some pain, there's some contraction, but also, in other words, can you help me wake up right now, or does this have to take any longer?
When you wake up, it will be now, always.
Can it be this now, or do I have to wait for another now?
It could be this now. Absolutely, it could be.
All right, let's go, Vince. I'm tired. Let's go.
I'm going. You coming?
I'm coming. Are you up for it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what do you imagine it will feel like when Tammy recognizes that Tammy is not Tammy, but just a bunch of responses? So, focus on the first part of the question. What do you think it'll feel like?
I can imagine three things.
Mm-hmm.
One is much like now, I'll just be giggling because I semi realized this already. One is I'll just sink into some deep kind of peace and all tension will just let go and I'll just watch how it's all happening because that's what was happening anyway. And the third one is some kind of bewilderment or fear or disorientation.
Until familiarity turns up.
Maybe. I guess it's only things that I've experienced before: wonder, relaxation, laughter.
Mm. So if Tammy's just a bunch of responses,
Mm.
reactions to things, isn't it reasonable that sometimes that reaction will be contraction, even to the point of pain?
No, because that only comes because of misunderstanding of what the world is and what I am. Okay, I'm hearing that was the wrong answer.
No, no, I'm just thinking about it. Yeah, how can you be and you say what I am? And I was thinking, I probably put it wrong, or probably put it a bit clumsily when I said you are just a bunch of responses. See, the language makes it a difficulty. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to say it without saying you are. There is just a bunch of responses
Mm-hmm.
to whatever circumstances turn up.
Mm-hmm.
And the responses might be contraction, and then there'll be responses to that contraction.
But I guess I am assuming that the contraction and responses to it only happen because there is a thought that is believed that there is control or responsibility. And once that is seen to
Oh,
not be the case, then there will be no contraction
no,
and responses to it.
no, no. Look, my wife walked on a stone today with bare feet and hurt her heel where she stood on it. And I could really relate to that because I stood on a gum nut a week or so ago with bare feet, and wow, it killed me. Oh, gee, boy, did that cause a contraction. Right? So circumstances could easily cause a contraction. So where would be the
Momentary, but not living in it.
true,
That's what I
true.
assumed.
So very, very much the case that there was no, and there was no, you're an idiot for doing that, Vince. You know, there was just, oh, that hurt. And then I don't remember after that how long it hurt for. It probably hurt for a whole 2 steps or something, and then it was just a mild discomfort, and another 2 steps, and it was forgotten about. I don't know, but yeah. So can you imagine that a certain way of relating to that seems to make it persist? You know, we talked about letting go of it. But when you're contracted, it's pretty hard to let go, isn't it? I mean, contraction is a kind of a hanging on in a way, isn't it?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course, when we talk about letting go, are we talking about doing it, having control? So maybe the best we can do about letting go is to realize that there is hanging on happening. And in that realization, it very likely will change.
Although maybe there is whatever pain or discomfort in this body and it contracts around it. And what you're saying with the nut that you stepped on, in other words, maybe it could be an ongoing thing. It never occurred to me. I always assumed that if I had deeper realization, I would just sink into peace and not be holding on to any contraction. But now you're saying maybe there could be ongoing pain in the body and contraction around that, just like the nut, except longer term. I don't know. That's not a fun thought, but
Mm. Well, when I had arthritis in this hand that was definitely chronic, and it was there for a long time, there came a time, and it wasn't really sudden, but there certainly came a time when that I don't even want to say the word pain, when it the nature of it changed, and I could have lived with it forever, you know, or it would seem that way at the time. I don't know. Possibly it could have got worse, and it would be hard to live with. But the nature of it was, I certainly got a good lesson in recognizing that my relationship to it changes my experience of it. And so, although it was there, again, I presume all the time, it only hurt when I thought about it. And even that was a kind of a dull ache more than a intense, sharp pain. And I've thought about this a lot too. So when I was offered a wrist replacement, I took it, and I'm not sure whether I took it because it was a way of avoiding the pain, or what I now say was, well, it allowed me to go back to playing golf, which I couldn't do before. So that was but that's just my head saying that. Maybe, well, it certainly was involved, but yeah. So anyway, it was rather interesting. But see, that kind of discomfort with arthritis, the inflammation that's involved with arthritis, that's pretty constant. When you talk about a contraction around something, it sounds more acute rather than chronic. But you then talk about it like it becomes chronic. but it always fluctuates, doesn't it? It's always,
Mm-hmm.
you don't stay in it forever. You come out of it and go back into it and come out of it and go back into it. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I guess it's rare that the body is fully free of pain and contraction, but I guess the hope is that it would be,
Hmm.
or that I would be around it, in other words, and
Yeah.
that would take up a smaller place. But anyway, let's get back to the meat of things, Vince. Are we still up for this? Are we doing it? Are we shifting now?
Oh, we're doing it.
Okay.
So did you get an inkling that if you were to look at whatever is happening now, it would be a different experience than what you normally have?
Can you repeat?
So my question is, did you get an inkling of that if you were to sink into what you are experiencing now, and just that alone, that your experiencing would be different to what it has been?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know that you got an inkling of that?
Because I'm doing it.
What's it feel like?
Warmer, softer, more flowing.
Softer, more flowing? Is that a feeling of flowing? I mean, flowing itself suggests movement from past, present, future stuff, but a feeling of flowing doesn't say anything about that, does it? If
No,
it might be a way of saying no resistance.
maybe. Yeah, less.
Less. Okay. So is there somewhere in that feeling, can you find a feeling of acceptance?
I don't know what acceptance is. That's in the mind, but less clenching around it, if that's the closest I can come.
Can't find a feeling. So you talked about less resistance. That would be a feeling, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it means to me less clenching. Like acceptance is more a mind thing for me, but less tension
Okay.
around it, less holding is my experience of it.
Right. Okay. So let's change the word acceptance to surrender. Does that is that something you can feel?
Or like softening or allowing it to be, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you're getting there. Allowing is certainly very close to accepting, isn't it? And surrender is a kind of allowing, a helpless kind of allowing. But let's change that to a willing or an inviting surrender. We're getting out of traditional meanings here, but a willing or inviting surrender, definitely an allowing. But see, allowing also has the implication of allowing something, even and allowing something to somebody. Whereas what I'm pointing at is it just happening. And if we describe that happening, we can describe it as flowing, allowing, flowing. You can't find a feeling for accepting, eh?
I don't know, accepting and surrender have very negative connotations for me, but
Okay, okay, all right, yes, all right. So what, let's allow that. Let's allow that negative connotation to have a kind of a victim flavor maybe, but let's use that as a doorway into something where that negativity changes into just what is. It's not neither good nor bad, it's just what is. And there is that no resistance. I wish I had 1,000 more words I could use for this, but I don't. If we get so let's change it from a passive to an active. Let's go from allowing and surrender into actually inviting and welcoming. Welcome. Welcoming is very active, isn't it? Let's welcome it in. That's, can you get a feeling of welcoming whatever
yeah.
turns up?
Mm-hmm.
And let's not even worry about what it is that's turning up. Let's not try and define it. Let's just call it this. Whatever this is that is there. That if we invite it in, if we welcome it in, whatever it is, can you see how that shapes experience?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that now you have that experience, that that experience can find its way back. It now knows the pathway into this experience called Tammy. Can you imagine that?
I'm not sure why we're calling the experience Tammy. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying. You mean just the experience of whatever's coming now, but why are we calling it by my name?
Is there anything other than that experience?
No.
So that's as close as we can get to what you are, that experience. What did it feel like when I called it Tammy? Was there a contraction?
It was jarring. It was like, wait, we're talking about what's here. Why are you calling it a name? Like, I don't know. It was like, wait, what?
Yeah, right. Okay, so there was a contraction. Yeah, a jarring. Yeah. So let's just go back to that. The feeling of what is happening.
Hmm.
And if that is the entirety of what you are, of Tammy, is that okay?
I guess it just feels like I can
Mm.
go into like a deep state of just welcoming what is, but then when you say my name and I have to come back to function as a person, then
No,
just being
I'm not
what
asking you
is
to do that.
isn't
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. That's that's you getting away from what you are. That's getting you getting back into the stories about. So,
Exactly. Then I come
yeah.
back to be a human, and then it's not enough to experience what is. Then I have to act. Then I have to go into brain, go into mind, figure out what to do today, how to get more work, how to fix my oven, and how to spend the day and get sunshine and walk and work and eat. If I just sit here and welcome experience, that's a different, very different thing.
Okay, it's not
And
a
that's
different thing though. This is what I'm saying. All of that stuff you're talking about also just happens in exactly the same way what you were talking about. You're creating a separation that doesn't exist. All of those things
the minute you
can
say Tammy,
exist.
that's it. I have to go into brain and be the Tammy. And I'm like, oh God, back to this like functioning
Yeah,
person.
back out of it. Yeah, right. Yeah. How can I help you to appreciate that they're the same thing?
Hmm.
Tammy actually is the first thing. The second things are just stories about Tammy that you respond to and therefore become the experience. But that's not necessary. That is just what happens. You're
I
seeing
guess
them
it
as
seems,
two different things when they're not.
yes, it
Mm,
seems very two different things. Exactly.
mm. And one of them is your experience, and the other one is stories about, which you then respond to, and that becomes your experience.
Well, one is allowing and sitting and just deepening, but one I have to actually use my muscles and my brain. And so it turns into a whole other thing. It turns into a contracted robot
Mm,
puppet that has to move
okay.
and think.
Yeah, right. So you don't have to, but you do. Now, how can I help you discover that you don't have to? that those things that you do will happen, even though you think you're doing them. They will happen. They're not really the result of doing. There's the crux. There's what we're talking about. That shift into isn't separate. Those things will still happen, albeit probably differently, but they will happen, not be done. And they'll happen partly because that's how you've been trained. That's the habit. That's the way you've done things for so long that they will continue until they drop away. And they will drop away to a degree, one or some degree or another. But essentially they don't require to be operated from the mind. They'll just happen as required.
You mean working and calling someone to fix the oven and buying
Yep,
food and all this
all of
stuff?
that. All of that, exactly, yes. You know, I had a job to do today. I had a few jobs, and that's a description of what happened. But nevertheless, it's just from a standard point of view, a description. And I can see that I went through various processes, but they were all dependent on other stuff. None of them I could have done without other stuff being there. And if my wife was to describe what I did, she would describe it as me doing something and it was a job, and that I thought about it and used my head. Now, thinking about it and using my head did happen, as did all of the other things around that job. But I can see quite clearly that every bit of it, every happening was dependent on a whole lot of other happenings. And I
But did
can,
it feel like you were doing it or like you were
no,
watching it happen?
well, it didn't feel like I was watching it happening. It was just happening.
And where are you? What is your relationship to what is happening?
Well, I was part of it. I was the happening. I was the part that was pushing keys on the keyboard and sending emails and doing the whole thing. But I could say an email was sent. I could say I pressed the send button. They both have a legitimacy about them. They were both the case, but at no point did it feel like I was doing it. There was no place where I was saying I'm going to do this now. It just happened. Even if I say I just did it, it was just a happening. There was no consideration of a choice. I don't have to, or I won't, or I'll do it later. None of that happened. It just happened. So, kind of what I'm trying to say is that it could be described in a very normal social way. And then we would talk about doing and being in control and making a choice and so on. or if I look at what the actual experience was, there was no me here doing it. And that sounds esoteric, but it's not, it's not, it's not. I mean, you do things and you don't know you're doing them. You do things and there's no you doing them. There's no you involved when you button up your shirt. Maybe. I mean, it's possible that there is, but I'll bet you that there's not. I'll bet you the buttoning up your shirt just happens. Or when you're washing the dishes, are you fully mindful of every movement of your hand and the water and whatever? Does that happen, or does dishes just get washed?
What me
You know,
helped to get a feeling for this was life just unfolding.
yeah.
So I guess, in other words, I get a little bit of a sense of this, right? And when you speak, I can sometimes deepen into whatever's happening. When you ask me if there's a self or a doer, I can get lost in the thought of that. But in actual experience, I can sink into watching as things happen. And I guess the question is if that is, I guess my first question was if that's good enough. In other words, if that can be a way or a path to deepen into the seeing or
Yes.
experience of no self, even if when I come back and you ask my mind, I'll say, no, of course, here's a me. But in actual
Mm.
experience, I can deepen into just whatever is, welcoming what is, feeling it, and not thinking about whether or not there's a me. In other words, because when you bring me back to the mind, I might still say, yes, there's a me. But
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I
Okay.
to experience, or is it just that I'm in a more relaxed state because you're a very kind and relaxing person? And am I just being a bit more relaxed than usual, but it's not on a path to actually realizing lasting peace or no self?
Yeah.
I'm exasperating. I should stop asking questions.
No, no, that definitely don't stop
Um,
asking questions. But yeah, no, I'm smiling. Yeah.
it's just that all these people talk about spiritual, like cul-de-sac, like in other words, paths that are going to bring you to states that you can get addicted to, but they're not actually going to bring to true peace. And I just don't want to get lost in a track that isn't that is pleasant, like, which is sometimes
Yeah.
why I resist going into peace because I'm like, or into relaxation because I'm like, no, 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 I don't want relaxation. Let's go awaken or bust. In other words, I don't want to just sink into a pleasant sensation. I want to
Mm,
realize
mm,
lasting peace. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
So is sinking into accepting and allowing and welcoming just a pleasant sensation, or is that going somewhere deeper?
I'd say everything you do is going somewhere deeper.
So even just relaxation of the nervous system can be part of waking up.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
I
Every
guess
experience that you have shows you that the organism, if you like, knows how to do it, and it can come back. It can find its way back simply because when if you've ever felt overwhelming love, then it knows its way back all the time. It can be there at any time. The fact that it's not there at the moment or in a moment um, doesn't mean that it doesn't know how to be there. It can be. So what when you've yet to get this is a tricky one. You've yet to get to the point where you realize that there is no such thing as waking up. Right? That what we call waking up is it's just recognizing some realities about illusions and the illusion of a self and the illusion of control and the illusion of choice and decisions and responsibility, that once those things are recognized as an illusion, we unfetter experience. That's a good way to put it. So I wouldn't worry at all about getting lost. I'm not, whatever you stay with me, I'm not going to let you get lost. If I see you starting to bypass things using logic to get a good feeling, I'll throw rocks at you. No worries.
Thank you, Vince. How kind.
Yeah.
What you just said, gave me like an association,
Mm.
and I mean what Vince said about love, because I mean I don't have children, but I imagine when you have children, you love them, and that's like not just some moments, like you always love them. But in those moments when you are stressed or when you are angry at your children, you won't feel that, but it's there anyway, isn't it?
Yep. You could hate them for their behavior and still love them at the same time. Yeah.
So I guess what you're saying, seeing through the illusion of this or that and unfettering, can that be done by what we did today, which is welcoming what's present, or does that need to be a questioning and an inquiring and a seeing?
No, definitely not. The questioning, inquiring, etc., will keep you away from it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing and discovering is are the key things I would say is in terms of seeing and that recognition of things. So stories that you tell, things that are what this means, all that mind stuff that comes along, that shapes your experience unnecessarily. So it's your mind that says, oh, I've got this nice, relaxed, flowing feeling now, and it's because I'm here at this meeting. No, that's mind that says because. Anything that comes after the word because is mind stuff or therefore,
Mm-hmm.
logical conclusions. Well, mind has a place, but not doing that. Anything that is a story about what something means is a trap. So your way around all of that is not to remember all of these negatives. Don't do this and don't do that. Don't remember all of them. There's too many. Right? Always come back to what is this? What is actually going on now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And recognize that in the beginning, there'll be labels, and those labels have the purpose of pointing you towards an experience. And that you get into the experience, it's beyond your ability to describe, and that's where the juice is for you all the time. What is he experiencing now? Always now. Not what it means, not compared to, just what is.
I guess it just feels like I can go into these pockets of deep calm, but does that have any value in terms of
Absolutely, it
awakening?
does. Yes, it does. Yeah. Because in those pockets, you're not doing that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even if in there in those pockets you consider that this is a temporary place that I'll have to go back to doing that other stuff. Well, if you'd think that, you're already on the way out of that pocket, I'd say. But no, you don't. You don't have to. The other stuff will take care of itself. You'll still do the things you used to do, but they'll look after themselves. You don't have to do it. You don't have to get the energy flowing in order to make something happen. That'll happen. And that'll happen because that's what you've always done. It's your personality. It's your habit. So you're not going to lose motivation. You're not going to stop being who you are. You're not going to suddenly forget how to
I mean, we
play.
don't know, right? If I see through illusions, maybe the illusion was keeping me going like a carrot. And once I see there's no carrot, I might just want to sit on my couch. But
That's possible, but it's unlikely in for how can I put it, for meaningful stuff.
mm-hmm,
You know, so certainly some people wake up and they'll quit their job, you know, or whatever, because they'll suddenly realize that they've for a lifetime they've been wanting to do it, and then all of a sudden they've got the courage to do it. But that's pretty unusual. You know, it's not very often that'll happen. It's more like people will burn out from their job and as a result of that wake up, the other way around. But
mm,
people don't wake up and then have a burnout.
mm. You're
See,
saying the
I
main,
was, yeah,
oh,
go
go
on.
on.
No, you go.
So the main point in going into these pockets of welcoming what is just to get me out of the mind, but can it take me further than that
Yeah,
to
no,
realizing
it's
illusion?
yeah, right. No, it's not. It's not. Its purpose is not just to get you out of the mind. That will happen. Right? Its purpose is to show you what's possible. Its purpose is to show you that your experience can be quite different to what it is when you're in the mind. It's like the shorts of a movie. It's just giving you a taste of what's possible
Mm-hmm.
or what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a better way to put it than that the other way.
And then hopefully I'll also see through illusions at some point.
Yes, and be careful about the idea of seeing through the illusion. You know that's usually translated into I'll understand what's going on. Well, you won't understand. That's another illusion that you'll understand. Oh, I'll get it. I'll know. Right? Well, you don't know. You won't know anything. But it's not that you'll know nothing. It's just that you won't know. You won't require answers to questions. There's a good one. That's another characteristic of waking up. You know, you'll go, oh yeah, I've got this question, but I don't really care if there's an answer to it or not.
Mm-hmm.
The question itself is interesting. Yeah. But do you get the importance or the value, the intense value of the pivot point of this, whatever this is, can't be described accurately, can't be defined, but it's still this. And there is an acceptance of all of that in this. And then of course the realization that by the time I become aware of this, it's already finished. So why would I want it to be different? And that's a kind of a weird one. It's a clue into that there is no continuity. Every moment, every this moment is fresh, unique. Even though it seems to be related to the previous one and it seems to be similar to the previous one, it's fresh and unique. But that's a realization. Don't take the words. You're not a belief to be shared. It's a realization. So where are you if you've got a this that's already done by the time I become aware of my interpretation of it? It's not what it actually is. It's just my interpretation of it. And it's already done by the time I have any awareness of it. So what have I got? Nothing known. So the idea that I can square this away with my mind, I can actually define it and know it intellectually, that's just a joke, isn't it? It's a sad joke in a way, if we're going to try and do that. Well, that's like saying, if I look hard enough, I'm going to see an atom. I'm going to isolate an atom and see how it works. I'm going to see the neutron and proton and all of that stuff. Well, that's never going to happen, is it? Just the same as knowing what this is as it's happening. That's never going to happen.
Mm.
So, doesn't it lead you to giving up? This whole idea that I can do, I mean, I have to know what it is I'm going to do. And I have to know what all of the circumstances are that are going to allow that to happen. That's never going to happen. Impossible. So if we're stuck with this unknown, indefinable this, how can there be any fight about it? How can there be any desire for it to be different or whatever? Yet we have our experience. And if our experience is unpleasant, if it's pain or contraction or whatever, part of this is that we want it to be different.
And that's also something to welcome.
Well, it's something I accept. I have no option but to live with it. But only now. I've no idea what the next now will be like. So in a way, in a weird way, all of our pain is experienced in memory. How do we know we're in pain? We become aware of it, but it's already done by the time we become aware of it. So it's always in memory. It's pretty weird stuff we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't fully get that. Although Byron Katie says something similar about pain. I don't know. I heard it years ago. She said something like it's always on its way out or we never experience it directly. I don't know, something like that. And I was like, what? But
Mm.
I'm not entirely sure I got it, but maybe like it feels like I'm feeling it now, but
Yeah, yeah, of course it does. Yeah, yeah. It's the clue is that the awareness, by the time it arrives to let us know what's happening, there's always a lag. Awareness lags by milliseconds, perhaps, but nevertheless, there's always that lag. And so
it's
when it does reach awareness, it's a memory of it, not the actual thing.
but it's kind of like saying sunset. It's like the sun has already gone and we're just seeing the color. It doesn't matter. Our experience in that moment is of the colors. My experience in this moment is that there's some pain. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. So no, it doesn't matter in one way, but it does matter in that it offers you the possibility of having a different relationship to it.
Mhm. So I guess throughout these calls and stuff, I've had times where I've deepened into stuff. And I guess the hope is that it'll just happen more often.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things that you could you might think about is that you have previously isolated these experiences into um, temporary experiences that have happened as a result of being here. And the consequence of that has been partly that you haven't appreciated that experience um, allows it to come back again, allows visitation rights, so to speak. It's not
Okay.
just because of this. So even though you say, oh, it's because I was at the meeting or because, the way you talk, Vince, or whatever, right? It's you. It's not me. It's you. It's your relationship to that's allowed that experience to be what it is. And because of that, you can have that under any circumstances. It knows the way in.
I don't
So,
know, Vince. That doesn't logically compute. It's like saying I can feel like satisfied and energetic after I eat grapes, so therefore I can feel satisfied and energetic without eating.
well, you can, but yeah, yeah. Yeah, logically, your mind is saying those are the dependent causes of that
Yeah.
situation, and I'm saying for you to recognize that a large component of those dependent causes are within you, not as a
Mm-hmm.
result of the meeting or a result of anything external to you.
Yeah.
And now
I
I'm
guess it's
saying,
fine.
don't do anything about it. Don't go looking to fix things. Don't go looking to make it happen more or anything like that. You know, that's also uh, uh, um, the wrong direction, so to
Hmm.
speak. Yeah. Just allow, recognizing that the experience has happened, and that's made inroads, if you like. You know, the neural pathways, right? So that's another way to look at it. Okay, you can look at it biologically, if you like, or neuroscientifically, that that the experience you've had has laid down pathways in your brain that weren't there without that experience. And the consequence is that those pathways can become active more. Other things will trigger them into activity.
So, in other words, you're saying don't chase it, whatever. So I shouldn't now be mad at myself most of the day that I'm not there, etc. In other words, when it comes, when I'm able to welcome and allow. When I'm not, then not, and welcome and allow that
Exactly.
or
Yeah,
not. Okay,
exactly. Yeah. And when you're not allowing, if the thought comes that you could allow, then sink into that. Let it happen. See what happens.
I should
Yeah.
allow, and I'm being lazy and unfocused. And what's wrong with me? Why can't I get back there? But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So kill the shoulds and shouldn'ts. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But the clue for you, if you know, let's use the word homework, is check out now all the time and be very aware of stories that turn up that give it meaning,
Hmm.
and particularly stories relating to present compared to potential future or hope for future or whatever. Yeah. A lot of us is just habit, you know. Yeah.
It's habit to go
Yep.
into contraction and thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, it's that second arrow thing that you were doing there for a while is still a really good one, you know, because you have a contraction and then you contract around the contraction.
Yeah, totally. Like even now, it's starting to come online again. That's it. It's like
Mm.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It just comes back
Yeah.
so easy when I come back to being a person who's functioning. But
Yeah. And yeah. And just you observe that. Watch it happen. Isn't it brilliant that it happens? It's amazing, isn't it? Wow. This
yeah,
organism can do something like that. We can go from this state to that state. You know? Ooh, just so easy. No effort involved at all. You know, there it is. I come back online and wow, let's get going again. Rev it up.
it is pretty amazing. I mean, the different states that I go through, it's just wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just blown away by the possibilities of humanness is unbounded. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And if you can go in one direction so easily, you can go in the other direction too.
You think so with all the years of wiring and all the fears and everything?
Well, it's a bit harder going uphill than downhill, but you know, it you'll get the hang of it. You get fit to
Yeah.
it. Mm. Mm.
And is there anything more I need to do to get to lasting peace, or is this good enough?
Oh, I'm trying to think of a smart answer. Um, there's always more. Yeah. Um, let me say this. you're much closer than you think. And that's a no-brainer. That's easy to say because nobody ever recognizes how close they are. You know, it's I get this strong feeling. It's the same as with Jack. It's just that there are fundamental illusions that seem so real that once they fall, a whole lot of other ones will tumble straight away. And it's really a case of just that not just the recognizing, but the recognizing of the recognizing. You know, we can recognize and then we can attribute it to other things and so therefore not recognize it for what it actually is. But yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. And part of the happening of it is seemingly patience. Now, by that I don't mean this sense of waiting or anything. What I mean is relaxing into whatever is. You know,
Hmm.
that means, you know, we're not looking forward to the future. We're not hanging out for something to happen. We're just relaxed in here and now. And that's part of the realization and the experience. And those little moments that you have are not isolated little moments. They're the movie preview.
All right. Thanks so much, Vince. This was really great.
Yeah. What do I do with this desire of wanting to give you the right coloured pill that will just do it for you? We've got one here for you and one for Jack. Leonard doesn't need one. He's already got his. Yeah.
I think you're
Yeah, I
giving it us,
think
but it's microdosing, so.
I think the thing about the illusions is that they seemingly have a function in your life, right? I mean, they seem to hold everything together. So why it's like your intuition doesn't really say get rid of them. So what I still find tricky is also like this thing about stories, because I think I spent many years of my life telling myself like super negative stories about myself and the world. And then now it's rather like I choose the positive stories, but then I
Mm.
notice, okay, that's a story as well anyway. But then, of course, I'm not so inclined to get rid of them because they make me feel good. So why should I? But whenever I notice that I'm too identified with the story and then it turns out to be not true, that's like a little suffering again. So, um, I'm not quite sure if it's possible not to have any stories come up. I mean, as humans, I think, I don't know, like everyday life, would it work without any stories? I'm not quite sure. Because, like, even what I'm telling now is a story in the end, you know? So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I mean, the story that I'm telling myself right now is like, it's okay, just it's okay to operate with stories, with telling stories, but knowing that they are stories. So because before I also had like this period when I thought nothing is true, they are all stories. Why should I get up and do go outside or look for a job or something like that? And yeah, but that has to do with the longing for a sense of everything, like a meaning. And then I think it's just like our conditioning that we are always searching for a meaning in order to be motivated to do something. And yeah, I mean, for the time being, I prefer to um, tell myself like positive, motivating stories, knowing that it's like super arbitrary. I could also tell the same, like the negative version of the same story. It would not be more or less true. I mean, but it is sometimes tricky, I think.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, you said it well there, Leonard. In the beginning, it seems a good way to recognize, to believe that all stories are a problem. And after that, once the cage door is open, so to speak, then we start to recognize that there are useful stories and there are entertaining stories, but we know they're stories, and that's
Yeah, I
okay.
mean,
Yeah.
it's more playful in a way
Yeah,
because I think
exactly.
before I used to believe if I um, get a new job or if I move to this place or if I have a relationship, then this will be like the total fulfillment and I will be happy ever after.
Yeah.
And now I don't, I mean, it's not about believing, it's just like I experienced so many times that it's not the case that yeah, um, but I don't need this goal in order to be curious towards what life can bring anyway. I mean, it's not, there's no expectation, but there is curiosity.
Mm.
And I mean, I don't, yeah, it's not like this, nothing makes any sense, so I don't feel motivated to do anything. It's rather like a playful approach, also
Yeah.
towards stories. It's okay to tell yourself stories as well, knowing that they are stories.
Yeah. 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 And humor plays a big part in the whole thing as well. So we cease to take things seriously like we used to. Mm. Okay, well, my battery's about to run out, so that's a good excuse for me to go.
Hey Vince, really quick, could you just look at the chat just for a second? I asked a question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries at all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again for tonight. This is good.
Yeah, no worries. Right. Yeah, thanks, Jim. All right, see you later.
Thank you.
Bye, Tammy.
Bye.
Relax.
Thanks.
Couldn't help myself there.